Right.
Oh, it's you again.
Yeah, hi, it's you. And be honest, I do appreciate you too.
It's fine. No problems.
Most of
It's okay. I can take it, Drew. It's okay.
Hey, I was with a bunch of your colleagues last night, but you weren't there.
Really?
We had a Genoa celebration. So.
Got it. Right. Yeah, I don't get invited to those because they gotta like fly me out and stuff.
That's too bad. Well, I last night to get home, I had to. I stayed late for that, and so I was dealing with rain and clouds. So IFR conditions at night in the mountain, and then just to like add the icing to the cake, there's a presidential temporary flight restriction in effect over the Bay Area. So I had to file a flight plan and go through some procedures to make sure that I didn't get visited by a couple of F-35. So I did it though. I made it home. I didn't get intercepted. No fighters came out to visit.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've told you the story. I had a friend. Well, I'm just going chatting while we wait for people to join. But I had a friend who he was flying combat air patrol over Kennebunkport for President Bush. Just Air Force officer, and he got assigned to protect the president. And some rich guy comes in with his helicopter, ignoring the air traffic controllers. And they're like, "Hey, the air traffic controllers like, you are in a presidential TFR. You are, blah blah blah. You're in trouble." And the Air Force guy's trying to get the helicopter's attention, but he's trying to intercept a helicopter puttering along at like 500 feet or something, 300 feet, and he's in a fighter that goes Mach 2.5. So he's doing these big circles around the helicopter, trying to keep the helicopter in sight. The helicopter's not paying attention to him. And so finally he's like, "Look, this guy gets any close to the president, I'm going to have to shoot him down. I really don't want to shoot anyone down today." So he flies under the helicopter, lights the afterburners, pulls up vertically in front of the helicopter, almost knocking it out of the air. And then the guy got chatty. He's like, "What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What's next?"
Oh, man. I'll just say, you always say flying is safer than driving, but I don't have to deal with fighter jets, potentially coming in and like knocking me off the highway, right? So
yes. Well, in that case, you just have to pay attention to the notices to air missions. There's a website. You look them up. You just check before you go. It's really harder than it ought to be, but it's not so hard that it's unreasonable to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
So anyway, yeah. So fun story for Friday. So while we're waiting for people to join, I wanted to just mention that we have a holiday next week. And I think, I apologize for folks that joined for Veterans Day. I had talked to Yogesh and thought we had canceled. I want to be really clear. I don't think we're probably going to want to meet on Black Friday, right? I think most companies in the U.S. have holidays, so I think attendance would be exceedingly low. Are there any objections to us just saying next week is canceled? Okay, I'm not hearing any
objection if you don't cancel.
If we
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Thank you, Rama. So then Yogesh, he's got family, so he may be in and out. And I know I missed one of the meetings. I was out, but we looked at PCIe pain points, and so I've added a few that I want to mention. And I don't know exactly where we were, but I was thinking, would it be consistent? I was assuming, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, that it would be consistent with what you all talked about last time if we picked up the PCIe pain point document and talked through the pain points, especially the couple I just added. So is that okay with folks?
Yeah, I like it. In that context, I want to add one discussion. Like, somehow I'm not able to access the doc, but later maybe I'll find a way to find.
Sure. And let me just look. Yeah, your OCP and Microsoft accounts are on it, I think. I'll double check. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I just did your OCP account. and let me. I really, I need to fix it. I may need to redo the doc because, but I just sent both of them to you. And what I'm going to do is paste the document in the chat for folks' convenience. And please try to connect and ask for access during the meeting. And if you have any trouble accessing the document, I will jump in and fix your access problem. So I'm so sorry about that, Ron.
No problem.
I'll try to figure out a better way to do that. I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
Are you
Okay.
sharing that doc? Yeah.
I was just you read my mind. Thank you. I just pulled it up. Okay. Okay. And I'm gonna just check sharing requests.
Rama, I see your name. Both email addresses are listed as editor.
Yeah, both are there. I checked it, but somehow I don't know. Yeah.
I just added Rama. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Like Rama said, he didn't have access, and I added him right away. So that's what happened to Neil. Okay, I got a couple of requests, and
Like in general, how do you log in with your corporate or OCP account?
I just use corporate because I work at Google and it just works.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I have the same problem with Microsoft. So it's like this. The bridge between us isn't always as good as it maybe could be, Rama. I'm sorry, but hopefully it'll work for you now.
When I log in with Microsoft, try to log in, it gives me error that that's okay. We can discuss offline that one.
Okay, I'll try to fix it. But your OCP account might.
So Drew, I just want to give you a kind of a recap from the last discussion.
Oh, great.
We went through this. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying thanks. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step.
Yeah. So we went through this error, fine gain error, theory negotiation, routing topic, and I didn't see anyone opposing to that.
I'm sorry. Which top? Like, are you talking about this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the next step here is really to put together a more formal requirement, and then call out the existing specs that would require changes. So maybe you can assign that to me.
Okay.
I think from AMD, Vilas, I believe Leo volunteered to work on an ECN. So maybe I'll reach out to Leo if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's something we're looking at.
Right.
Yeah, we got a couple of things going, but yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else who's interested or willing to participate, just let me or Drew know, and then we'll huddle together and develop the appropriate ECNs for existing specs.
Yep.
So what? I want to get that. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to capture the action item. So, Anil, is the action item for you to write the proposal?
Yeah, basically, yeah. This is just a kind of very high level pinpoint. We would like to at least write a more formal requirement, which will become maybe you can call it child document to the bigger requirement contribution, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll roll up as appendix maybe.
Well,
in the next
maybe yeah, Anil, maybe let me say it differently, right? I mean, the way the pain point is written is separating out platform policy for corrected PCIe errors and uncorrected PCIe errors, right? Yeah. The way the current industry specs work, like the ACPI specifications and so on, it's essentially all or nothing on a per root port basis, but usually on a per node basis, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Anil sort of asked about it. We looked at it. I think my first glance at this says that the hardware for corrected error reporting and the hardware for uncorrected error reporting are independent of each other for PCIe, and therefore it is at least feasible, technically feasible, to do a platform policy where, you know, there's different entities in charge of those different pieces of hardware, right? So what we sort of said was we would look at the existing ACPI specifications and see if we could propose something that would allow such a negotiation, right? It's early, it's work in progress, and it's potentially, you know, I'll just say the changes might be more pervasive than you're thinking, Anil, but we have to look through it. But
Yeah.
yes, that's something we
Yeah.
can do.
I agree. My point is that we didn't have any like a hard opposition to not proceed further. There are a lot of challenges here. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
To be just give you kind of more clarity, right? On our Grand Teton platform, which we already made it public, that in that platform we are going through that change right now. So hardware does support it, as you said. We have to kind of override some of the Linux kernel. Driver that is written. And so a combination of a firmware and Linux driver changes and all that overriding, we are able to test. We are able to configure this. So it's feasible, but it's all custom designed right now.
And Neil, I like this idea. What I would hope we can do is maybe make this a section of an overall PCIe proposal that we make, because I think that what I think is going to happen is we work through these pain points, and we're going to have like a series of things that we want to propose. And so, does that make sense that we could just like start a PCIe doc and then make this? We start with this, and we're also at Google looking at rewriting the AER driver to make it easier to pull telemetry from within the OS. And we would like to run that by the folks here. So we're working on that proposal, and we'll probably be ready to come to you in December with a thought on how we might do that. And then we're also talking with other folks about how do we configure PCIe error handling correctly for most OSs at the endpoint, at a switch downstream port, at the switch upstream port, at the root port. And I think we'd like to bring it here also as we get that more mature and get it ratified. And so what I'm sorry I'm so long-winded, but what I see is you kicking off like a start of a few deliverables that are related to making our life better with PCIe. And it would be really awesome if we could tie them into a fault management PCIe doc. Is that okay with folks?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's the right thing to do, and that's exactly what I'm also suggesting.
Okay.
Right.
I just wasn't sure if you were saying a standalone proposal, and I'm not. I wasn't trying to say anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but Drew, actually, so what I'm saying, right? Anil's written down a pain point here. Pain point makes sense. What I'm saying is the solution to this pain point is a proposal to a different industry consortium, right? Or an ECN to a different industry spec, right? I mean, so we can, like, that's what we're gonna, look at, right? What we put in a OCP doc, I don't know, right? But I'm just saying, like, this one, seems like it's just mostly just an ACPI thing, right?
Okay. I guess what I was thinking, Anil, is this goes back to the conversation we had in the previous meeting. The spec says, it should work this way, but what I think we want to try to document here a little bit is what is the big picture and how does all this fit together into a solution.
Yeah, so we need to put the requirement together as a maybe appendix to the existing requirement contribution. Okay, and the requirement will point to various existing specs changes. And then maybe we want to go one more step and then maybe propose the ECNs. Okay, let's let's work through the team and whoever wants to own each of the ECN, a draft ECN maybe, right? And then take it to a respective body of working group and drive through the team, the spec team, right? Working group for approval or modification, whichever way, right? This is drive to closure.
And if it's
I
just
have one comment. Like
oh,
maybe
I'm so sorry, Rami, your hand's been up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. I think like, see, we have like few things, right? Like so far 5 points or something, right? Like I think in the end it has to go to ECN. I completely agree. For PCI, some of this, right? How do we write this up? Like, should we start like a PCIe RAS extension, or where should this one go? Can we start writing like oh, what this goes to ECN to the spec? Okay, this is a solution methodology we are thinking through, right? Can we convert this into like a kind of like whatever we did out of band hardware fault management infrastructure requirements, right? Are we expanding on that document? Are we coming up with a new doc? Can we use the doc format, start adding like problem statement and like then a solution scope? Then we can use that, refer each section to ECNA. This is what the OCP work group we are providing that it like put that into a document of solutions for each one. People can add it. Okay, then we can take it separately. Each lead of that problem can take and drive the ECN. I think. Can we decide on the? Can we decide on the spec? Okay, where this is going to? Which spec we are going? Is it a new document we are contributing? That kind of high level thing also has to be thought through.
What I was thinking, Ram, is we start a PCIe doc that just talks about how we're solving our problems, but it gives rationale and kind of the flow. And then I love what you're saying. I was thinking the same thing, is that then we spin off ECNs, but the ECN's kind of cut and dry, doesn't it? It doesn't give the big picture of the rationale or show how things fit together. It's just, you can do this. This is the negotiation with these bits.
And what we've maybe talked about before, and I would love to see as a document, is a PCIe best practices document, right?
Okay, yes.
That's not duplicative of any spec, right? But that just says like, here is how PCIe, the best practice for configuring PCIe. Maybe there's some, different use cases, different environments, whatever under there, right? But at the end of the day, some of those things may require an ECN into some other spec, right? Like this one, maybe there's a best practice that says, ideally there would be independent control of, corrected and uncorrected, and based on platform policy, you can set them however you want. That requires an ECN to some other spec, and we're going to push that, into the other spec. But at the end of the day, the best practices document kind of outlines the.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Maybe
what we're saying. Yeah.
Like Drew or Anil, can we change this heading and then put as a chapters wise, like not just pain points, because like maybe just change the name of the same doc or something. A best practices for like PCIe best practice recommendations. Then each thing can be a section or chapter. Then we can
Okay, and we can rewrite the document over time.
Yeah, little bit formatting and all that. Then people can add the solution space. Then
Answering to your question, Rama. Sorry, Drew. I think you made a very good suggestion and point. So this best practices document, I think the way we want to position this one is as an appendix to the existing requirement document that we already contributed.
Yes.
Okay. So it'll be a standalone in a sense. There's an appendix, right? So that's self-contained, but it is still rolled up in the master document.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I like it. I'm putting that in now unless someone strongly objects.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's a good idea.
Yeah. Same format, same thing, right? And it'll be like a maybe 1.1 of the 1.5 of the requirement document that we contributed. Next year we'll call that as 1.5 and then add the appendix to that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I like to add like one more pain point. Now I got access. Thank you too. Like maybe I can add the contest, and if we all agree, I'll add it.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
good.
think
And
with that, Drew, go ahead. You have added, I know, a few things now. So why don't you go ahead and
Okay.
yeah, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to just show, like I want to do a breadth first approach, like just show you some things I've added at breadth first, and then we don't have to dive into any of them. So if that's cool with you, and then if other people have added stuff, we can do the same with them. So I agree with the EDPC solution. It's just like hard to do, and I just wanted to support the pain point. I think that what I see is it's like tricky for drivers to get handling the -1s back that you get when you have a DPC blink, and so it seems like there's room for improvement here in specifying it, like maybe write a driver's best practices or come up with a way for validating drivers. Something's not working for us. We just don't. We have so many drivers that do not support DPC well, and we need to do something to fix it. So I don't know what the solution is. I'm just kind of plus oneing, your comment or your
so
pain.
let's so Rama, is there something you want to expand on this more, or you want me to do it? Let's decide that so that we can next meeting we can have a discussion on this.
Yeah, you can take a first pen. Yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll work on it.
Okay. And then I also I was I was talking to Erwin, so I'm sorry I'm revealing my source, but Erwin and I were just having a chat about how hard PCIe was, and there's vendors that use PCIe device vendors that use the error signals maybe inconsistently. The PCIe spec is just wide open. It's very, very flexible. And so, but I think that what we're going to find is when we see a particular error, if you don't DPC it, you're maybe losing credits and maybe need to crash. And so I think as we get a better handle on what we should do, what each error means, and what we should do about it, we need to do something to help make sure that we're a little more specific with PCI devices, because my experience in recent times has been that I get a card in the fleet, it looks like everything's good, we're motoring along, and then someone does something funny with a driver, and we get some wildly surprising signal, and all of a sudden we have a blocker that blocks everything that we're doing because this one card's used everywhere. And so we'd like to avoid surprises, and I think that if we did a little bit more to define when errors should be sent for a particular card, then we'd get fewer surprises, and we could write our drivers consistently, because when you get a malformed TLP, you need to reset. When you get a UR, you should do this or whatever. And I'm not trying to be specific with my examples, other than just to say we've got a problem. So okay, I see Pure Storage added to it. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I didn't see this. Like mine is a little bit extension. I was trying to say, like maybe I'll add the details. Okay. If let's say if I see a malformed TLP or a receiver error, okay, or a surprise link down, okay, what kind of like repair action, right? Common repair action. I want to use the industry common knowledge, okay, to get to that the best practices, right? If I see I want to talk about the repair actions, okay, and maybe I may have some ideas, but I may not be perfect in that. I want to use this team's knowledge to come up with for different kind of errors. What are the general repair actions we need to think through, because there is a link level errors, transport kind of errors, data link layer, right? Okay, what is the sources? Okay, what kind of actions are like common practices? I want
I'm with you. And I think like the key here is that we need the PCIe device vendors to be consistent, because if they are, then we can do just what you're saying.
Yes. And one more thing.
Oh,
can
sorry.
I add one more last point, Anil? Can I add one more last point? I think if you see our hardware fault management, right? Now we have like a bigger group, right? We have CPU vendors, GPU vendors, memory vendors. I think we are lacking some kind of PCI switch vendors, maybe Drew and Anil and others. We need to see how we can influence the some of the PCI vendors where we work with, we buy. Maybe how do we bring them part of this PCI best practices, because like they can also add a lot of value.
I completely agree, Matt, with you. Oh, sorry, I was like meta added. That's awesome. Thank you, Anil. I love it, Rama. And so, I mean, there are what microsemi switches, Broadcom switches. I mean, we can go to the switch vendors and reach out to them. So I'll work on that some on my end. But I think what would help is if we can each go back to the switch vendors we work with and apply a little pressure. That would be great, because I totally agree. We need their support.
Okay, thank you. Anil, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to type. So I agree. So from our experience, when it comes to correctable errors, there are some actions we can take, and they are useful. Although they are simply just telling us the characteristics of the link. It doesn't really tell us, is this really device problem or the link problem? We can't distinguish. So we have to use the heuristics and then decide what action we can take. When it comes to uncorrected errors, we are completely blind, and most of the uncorrected errors are not actionable today, except CTO and surprise link down, and which is also in a way.
I guess, Anil, I was thinking malformed TLPs might, like when I would talk to them, like I think maybe that's a problem. We need to agree on that. I'm not sure I'm aligned with you, but I'm not pushing back on you either. I just don't know, and I think we need to get some experts in here.
No, let me tell you, right? So malformed TLP, when error is detected, I do not know who caused it and what through action I can take, except reset the machine and hope that malformed TLP doesn't happen again. Tell me anything else.
But I call that an action. Reset is an action.
Well, yeah, that's
it's not an action that I want. Don't get me wrong, but it's
let me add you. Let's say you do the reset, right? If there is a permanent, it repeats the problem. What should I do now on the same device? Okay, I think can we maybe for this table we can add one table and say hey, these are the type of errors common occurrence. Try to put our common knowledge to it. Then over the period we can you can give me action item. I'll put the initial table, but I want community to.
Actually, can you see what I'm sharing?
Oh, you're on the table. That's good. Yeah.
I've got it, and I've been working with someone else on it. I need to get permission to share the someone else's. This is so give me a little bit of time to work on that, and I'll see what I can do. But
yeah. I have a similar table, by the way. So why don't one of you share, and then we can all add to that. I mean, I've been working on this thing for a while now.
Wow. How rare it is, all three companies, all the CSPs have a similar problem trying to work on same thing.
And that's the table is for this one. It's like how do we want to configure things and how do we want to act? So if I can get permission to share the one I've been working on with another company, it is really good. I mean, I'm not bragging about my work. I'm bragging about their work. So I need to get permission to share that, but I'll work on that because they've done a really nice job.
Yeah, but Drew, let's make sure we close on that topic, right? So you brought up malformed TLP, right? Yes, reset is an action, right? But that's not good enough. Okay. And Rama made a good point. If it's a transient error, fine, it'll go away, and who cares then? But if it's a persistent fault, because see, the thing is, the way the spec is written, malformed TLP error is reported. Who detects it? It doesn't say who caused it. Okay.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, I thought you could get that information from the TLP header, right? Who caused it?
Malformed TLP not necessarily will have a header, does it?
It does have a header associated with it. My problem with malformed TLP is that, something very low down in the hierarchy can end up as a malformed TLP at the root complex, thus bringing down the whole hierarchy instead of, just that device that caused it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
but-
containment is a problem here.
Okay,
But hold on. The malformed TLP header, it says who detected it, not necessarily who caused it, right?
So I thought that the completion TLP header has the requester ID as well as the,
Yeah,
No, but the malformed TLP is a detector, not the
right.
completion.
It's a detector.
But-
Yeah.
Can I just make a request real quick? I'd like to go breadth first. But the fact that we're diving into this and the inconsistency in our understanding is precisely why we want to do this. So I think we're aligned. Let's keep going through the list just to make sure we have a good one.
One thing I just want to point out, right? A lot of what is being discussed is a basic problem when errors, a specific piece of or a specific logical entity spans multiple fruits, right? Because that's what happens on a link, right? It's typically spanning three or more fruits, right? And so that's like a basic fundamental pain point, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly. I think you made a good point, right? If you have just point-to-point topology, like one device tree, life is simple, right?
Yeah. Like a cache error is a cache error, and it's in a single thing, and it's like, okay, it's pretty easy, right? Like if you've got 3 fruits, it's very difficult to. It's just a fundamentally harder problem.
But just as a theoretical example here, yes, you can have something in either end of the link, but when we have an error that is shown that pops up on the link, we may want to create a best practice for PCI device vendors to say, hey, you do this and you need to log something on your endpoint that you are in the state that you think you might have caused a problem. So let's just, I don't want to work through the details here, but well, I do want to work through the details here, just not this minute. But it sounds like this is a good topic. So thank you. I think I would encourage some other people to put their names on the pain point.
By the way,
okay,
I just want to call out, just to kind of close the thought, right? So malformed TLP, I think, is still open.
it's not resolved. Yes.
And CTO, I think using RPPIO, there is some improvement being made where more fine granular header log can be captured, and that is helping us, like tremendously helping us. And surprise link down, the reason why I call that out here is because when surprise link down happens, since the link is down, there is a possibility that maybe an intermittent link issue. So we can use our heuristics to reseed the device, and hopefully the problem goes away. So that's the kind of true action we can take. But that's also not a very kind of a solid indicator pointing to the real device, any kind of any other flu problem except the link integrity issue.
What about let's see, do you have DLP errors here? Let's see. I'm looking at my list. I think DLP errors may be interesting.
You mean DLLP, bad DLP error?
Data link protocol error, because you basically have got a bad count. You got a wrong sequence number.
Yeah, that's a bad. You talking about replay replay number rollover. So those are all correctable errors, I think.
No, this is a fatal.
Sorry, which one are you talking about then?
A data link protocol error. I mean, well, it depends. It's uncorrected. So I think what I'd like to do is say, where basically is that the root port, the endpoint, the switch downstream port is generally fatal. And so this is where we just need to dive in. I think what we're going to have to do is walk through all the errors systematically.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find some surprises.
Yeah.
Where we're misaligned.
Yeah. Let's add this table, fill it. Maybe I just start a template, but like I think a lot of good feedback from everybody.
And Ronald,
Yeah.
what we may want to do is take this huge table. I've got this. If I can get permission to share it, I've got a really big table that has a lot of this
Okay,
already,
okay.
and I'd like
Yeah.
to merge it with what Anil has. And
Yes.
we're
I
going to
also
hack
want
it out. Like,
So
so
I have no problem in I have no problem in sharing the table that I created. If you want, I can share. I've already got so much of details here.
Can you
Okay.
add the table, Anil? Can you add the table? Maybe we can.
Okay, sure.
And I'll get this other table that I'm working on as well. And maybe we can figure out how we need to figure out how we can walk through PCI errors systematically and figure out where we're surprised. Because here's my problem. People are asking me, okay, can we do something to test that we get the right actions for PCIe errors? And my answer is no, because I don't even know what I want. And so this is where I need your help, and I'm hoping we can help each other figure out what we want. And then we can write tests, and we can standardize settings in each location of the hierarchy that are appropriate for each given error, and then write tests that ensure that those errors are set up to be signaled correctly and that we do the right thing when we see them. But anyway, I love it. This is awesome. So I'm really, really glad that I'm not the only one suffering here.
Wow, it is how can it be coincidence? All three guys are working on same thing at same time. Wow, I all thanks to GPUs, I think.
Okay, so another one I just wanted to mention is that PCI air injection is difficult, and in my dreams, I want PCI air injection and hardware for testing at scale, but to do the really detailed, like, is the system set up right in the software in the lab, I need something better. I need something that's kind of open source that I can just crank through all the errors. I plug a new card in, and I can run through all the errors and make sure that the things are right. And I don't know if this is open source hardware or software. I did have a conversation with a company called Antmicro that does open source FPGA based hardware, and they seem to indicate that it would be pretty easy for them to make a tool that did this kind of air injection. So, but I don't know if we can do it in the SoC or define standard air injections we want in every PCIe device IP. That might be an answer too. But I'm the one thing I'm 100% certain of is I need something better than what I've got. And apparently a few other people have added points too. So thank you, Mita and Anil. Yeah, and I agree. The current injection is inadequate. And really, what I want to be able to do is plug something in a particular place in the hierarchy. If I had like a little interposer card that I could insert wherever I wanted, then I could inject a whole bunch of errors. And I mean, in my dreams, I wouldn't need it, but I think it's gonna be a long time before all the PCIe IP vendors have the air injection tools that we will end up wanting.
So I have some thoughts on this one, and in fact, I wanted to actually even write a invention disclosure on this one. But I mean, it's not that big deal. I want to define an PCIe extended capability concept for error injection, where in that extended capability, we define what are the injection capability exists on a given device, and we have to define the methodology in the same extent capability and control register and all that to then create that fault.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess we got to be careful about how we handle IP here, Anil. But I would love to see standard air injection everywhere. And so, we might need a short-term plan and a long-term plan. Something like maybe like open source hardware to solve the immediate problem, and then built-in tools for future IP, PCIe IP that makes air injection part of the device. I will just have to say, I don't know what the answer is here, but yeah, I'm glad to see that that at least there's some interest in solving the problem. I love it.
Just a quick naive sort of comment question. We know how at least some errors can be injected, but there are also ways of injecting through C scripts. I was wondering if some of that could be like standardized, like Intel has C scripts. Can some of that be standardized to be able to inject errors without requiring special hardware?
Well,
Yeah.
the EI&J methods are kind of another way to do that. So,
But
they don't.
Yeah, but they don't they don't work too well for PCI Express, at least. For memory, it's okay.
I mean, the EINJ spec is defined, but it only covers the root port, CPU root port, and one type of correctable error, which is reachable error, and one type of uncorrected error, which is CTO. Besides that, there is no coverage at all in any other spec that I know of.
Yeah, and I guess I would point out EI&J is a firmware to operating system interface. It relies on having hardware that can actually support those injections, and it does not specify or mandate that hardware.
Yes.
So I think if the, idea, and I think I heard that from, Mita, I think that was you and Anil, of, doing some kind of, I'll say optional PCIe capability that put in a way to discover and standardize on certain injections. I think that is an interesting idea, right?
Right.
That definitely seems like a path that could be pursued, right?
Right.
It would, it'd have to be optional, and each of the errors would have to be discoverable. But all that, stuff in general. But I think that's, useful, right?
Yeah, and that can be then scaled. I mean, at least doing this at scale, right? It'll be easy for us to use it across a large pool of machines without any special tool.
Yeah, and it could still theoretically be exposed through a new EI&J mechanism or something, right? Like it doesn't. I mean, the hardware is somewhat orthogonal to how it gets exposed, right?
Yeah.
But I agree that having something like that would give more consistency, right? Across.
Yeah. Right.
And maybe what we do is like if we can't get the full coverage I could imagine doing some lab validation testing where I just sweep through everything I want to test, and then in like our production environment where we do injection at scale, we would love to do the same. But I need something that allows me to get all the gotchas early in the lab too. So I think as we talk through this, we just we need to think about how we support both use cases, kind of the lab and then that at scale, and they're both important. But I guess my point is, I really want to do it at scale, but my problem is I can't even do it in the lab. That's really the way I put it.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some fundamental challenges, right? I think, IOMMUs make it effectively very difficult to predict what addresses go out on the bus, for example, right? But I think there's ways of making parts of it a lot easier, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I could imagine an interposer card that sees a packet go across and says, "Nope, this one's poisoned," and turns it into a poison TLP. So I mean, and that's a lab solution. But I'm not trying to push the lab solution too hard. I'm just desperate for any solution, and I think I'm going to get the lab solution faster because I don't have to make a standard. I need to make a tool. But I really want both. Cool. Okay. So it sounds like Amer. Am I saying? And I hope I'm saying your name. Is that Amer? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I like to double check. Amer, I see that you added something. I'm thrilled. Not that we have more pain, but we all know that we've got. But I'm really glad you're participating. I'd love to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, sure. So this point was basically about platform firmware visibility into PCI errors, like the whole link errors, both from the endpoint and the root port. So in the present flow, when DPC is enabled, we need to have control with the operating system for whole contain recovery operation, right? So what we really need is having visibility out of band through BMC without interfering in any way through the in-band handling, which is already happening through OS. And that's assuming we will enable DPC in the system.
Yeah, so Amer, I have a question about this. I guess I understand the need for out-of-band visibility. I'm not understanding where the DPC plays in, because, well, let me say it differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a current industry spec that allows, firmware to see when DPC gets triggered, and it can notify the BMC, and then it can allow the operating system to, take the recovery actions. I guess is your statement that that's insufficient?
So
or
this firmware is SMM or
as construed today, it's SMM, but I don't think
right.
there's actually a requirement in the spec for it to be SMM. It's just the platform.
We want SMM to go away. I
Yeah,
have to say it.
yeah.
Well,
I understand, but I'm saying that the spec does not mandate it to be SMM. It is possible to implement that spec through non-SMM means. So I guess my question is the thought that the spec is insufficient, or are you trying to talk about something else?
No, I think the EDR flow in the spec talks about this handshake in between the host and this the platform firmware or BMC in a way, right? And that handshake requires the interface to be active in runtime. We have a mandate from a security point of view to kind of isolate host and platform firmware as much as possible, so that if there's, let's say, bare metal instance, there are some security threats or models which we want to avoid. So having a more cleaner solution where there's no back and forth, like how it's described in the spec, would be more likable in a way.
Okay, that's clear. Thanks. Yeah, that's what I wanted to find out. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm plus oneing this. So yeah, we need a good bare metal solution to have some of the same problems. Awesome. Okay. Well, so this was thank you for bearing with me and going through this breadth first. But since we added things, I wanted to make sure we all were on the same page and understood the things that we need to work on. Well, I guess what I would encourage is the authors of each section to flesh their work out. And I will try to get the table that I've got shared if I can, or I'll make my own similar table and work with Anil to, reconcile how we want to do this, and then propose something to you all. What else? I guess. What do we want to say? Like, can we ask everyone to go add their name or add their, and I think, I hope it's okay that I did this. I'm not trying to step on Anil and Rama's pain point, but I think, like writing a driver that even does the right thing is kind of hard. Is that okay if we get other people to just fill in their comments for each pain point and try to get some more details about the problems people are having?
I guess any of the pain point that we collectively agree to include into the appendix that we talked about, maybe call that out here and then assign one lead who can then work through the team. That would probably be the next step, in my opinion. And any pain point that we are agreeing that either roll it into some other pain point, or we don't want to pursue, then just call that out here. So so far, I don't think. Go ahead.
I think all of these are pretty popular.
One thing that too, the first pain point that you added here, we didn't get a chance to review this one. Do you want to talk through that in next few minutes, or you want to?
Oh, sure, sure. I mean, basically, we had problems where, a driver did something that generated URs, and someone in the PCIe hierarchy promoted that UR to trigger an NMI, and we NMI'd the machine to death. And then, but that also ties into the pain point that Rama was adding here with the service actions. It's if I really wrote this clearly, is we don't know what the errors mean, and we don't know what we ought to do about them, and we don't have things set up correctly. And so the result is, we get like at Google, we end up getting BIOSes and other firmware that sets things up mostly correctly, and it works pretty well until something happens, like a new card pops up, or we roll it out to broader test, this firmware out to broader testing. And then what happens is things blow up on us, and we end up, having a machine that crashes mysteriously, or we have unexpected behavior from a card, and then we have a hero that comes and cleans things up. And what we end up doing is we end up talking to CPU vendors, and the CPU vendors say, okay, well, you're getting this error. What do you want to do? And the UR is kind of a basic error, but we had this happen recently, and we're talking with one of our suppliers, and we're having an internal debate on what we want URs to do. And that's kind of silly. I mean, this isn't magic. Everyone wants to.
So Drew, I think isn't there is a commonality between this pain point and there's another pain point, PCI error service actions.
Yes.
And actually, there's another one called PCI error signaling. Signals are used inconsistently, inappropriately. On these
I think those
kind of,
all fall with it. Yeah. So here's what I'll do. I'll move those by it.
yeah, let's combine three to call out one generic pain point. And I can add the table that I have been putting together. It's not complete, but at least whatever I have right now, I can add that.
Okay.
From
And
a service
I'll see
section
if
point of view. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll see if I can get permission to share mine. And I think what we'll do is, our tables will probably have similar row, like I'm thinking the rows of the errors, right, and the columns are the things we want to talk about. But ideally, what I would like to do is be able to say, because of so PCI spec did not do me a favor. The role-based reporting makes things kind of complicated. So to have a full discussion of errors, we're going to end up needing to talk about, here's what this error means on a root port. Here's what it means on a switch upstream port, a switch downstream port, and an in port. So, what I'll try to do is, at least if you put your table in, I'll see where maybe I have some extra columns that you don't. And if it's okay with you, I'll try to add those in, and I'll see if I can get support to copy what I've got into the table.
Yeah, I just added the table that I have been putting together. It's not complete yet, and it looks ugly because for most unconnected, there is not a clear.
Okay, I've got a massive table that has, it's a spreadsheet. We're a column X, so and this would be like one column on it. So maybe what we can do, Anil, is if I get permission to share mine, I'll put your stuff in as a column. I'll copy yours into the stuff into the right column, and then we can see if the resulting spreadsheet makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just keep it up level, and then maybe have a detailed table as a in the back.
Oh, the table I'm talking about is hyper detailed, and it'll probably be a spreadsheet that we just link to.
Right.
I mean, it has column X. You know, we're at column X. It's you know, but unfortunately, that's kind of what we've had to do to really. Sometimes we have to dive into the details to figure out what the big picture is. And unfortunately, with PCIe, that's what I've found myself having to do.
Right. Maybe
But
next meeting we can go over this and kind of brainstorm our collective understanding of what a service action should be or should not be for each of these errors.
Yeah.
So
And I think the other thing that's interesting, Anil, related to this, is can we use downstream port containment to help keep the machine up? And the reason I'm saying that is that I suspect that Meta's like Google, and that we have machines that run a whole bunch of accelerators. They host a whole bunch of them, and it's kind of a shame to crash the whole machine when one accelerator misbehaves. We might want to just crash that job that was using the accelerator that had the problem, keep the rest of the machine up, and then we can decide when to service it in a little more less disruptive way, in a more graceful way.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah,
for you?
we talked about, right? There's a pain point we added, and I will work on it.
Okay.
Rama and I both will collaborate on that.
That sounds great.
Queue up for future meetings to discuss.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, well, hey, this is a great way to end the week. This is always a discussion I look forward to. Thank you for the great conversation today, and thank you for working on this. I feel like this is a pretty challenging topic, and I really appreciate the help. It's going to be great to figure this out, because this isn't really secret sauce. This is, everyone uses PCIe. I mean, everyone. So if we can make PCIe life earlier, easier, we can get back to innovating, and that excites me.
Yeah, maybe one of the outcome here, Drew and team, is that we write a best practices white paper, and I mean, of course, we'll contribute it as part of the appendix, but to just make it more visible, we should create a white paper and publish it as a separate document.
Well, I think so. And the other thing I'm thinking is, let's say that we figure this out and we say, here's how we want things to be set up for all these PCIe errors. Here's how we want them to be signaled. And then what we might want to do is see if we can contribute some open source software that helps us validate that, or maybe we have a test tool that it will inject a series of errors, and we can say, did we get the right behavior? I just have a feeling that once we know what we want, we probably want to test or develop tests to make sure we get what we want.
Yep, so I agree with the
Anil and team, I think for visibility, think about someone trying to find something on PCIe in the contributions portal. He will never guess that inside a requirements document there is knowledge about PCIe. So I would strongly support a separate contribution rather than tucking it in as a a chapter or appendix in the main document that we have.
I think that sounds fine, Yogesh. I guess what I'm thinking is, let's just get some good stuff done, and then once we have it, we can figure out how to make it known. And another thing that I think may happen is that if we create kind of a standard best practice that we all agree is what we want to have happen, we can go to the companies that we work with, and we can go to the Linux kernel, and we can go to ACPI and get standards changed. But with our collective bargaining power, we can go to people in the industry.
And also another thing I think we need to do is to have plans to include names upfront in this document that we'll be writing, including the company names. Because last time we kind of rushed through the process of contribution, but I totally intend to include company names and contributor names in the next revision of the requirements document also. I did not do it intentionally because I did not want to delay, because there may be company's process and all, but we can catch up on that. And also this document, if you want to take it to standards bodies and all, it makes sense to have companies' names and contributors' names highlighted there, recognized there. So it puts a weight on that, right? Okay, how so many companies are behind this problem statement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's do that. Yeah. And also one thing I'm seeing here is that we are kind of talking about error injections within the context, which kind of makes also sense. Maybe that's the right way to go about error injections, that we talk within the context of the technology or subsystem that we are working upon, rather than having a standalone error injection requirements thing. I don't know, just a thought.
Well, I guess we could do it even both ways. If there's some obvious things that we all know that we need now, we can ask for them.
Yeah.
And then I think as we work through this, I think it's going to be pretty obvious that we need new error injection tools as we work through this, because we're going to discover we want very specific things and not have a way to test. So I think it's going to end up being both, if that's okay with you.
Oh, it's whatever everyone decides, right? But I'm just saying, like, one thing that I'm sorry, I could only join late, but one thing is prioritization, and I'd really like to see contributions happening and closing on things. So if we are prioritizing this, which is fine, it's great. Let's have a plan to have this wrapped up and contributed, and then we can move on to the next thing. We also have to work on invent stuff, and we also have to, so that
that's a really good point. And Anil, I know that was a priority for you, the in-band stuff, and we I don't mean to block you. So, but I also, cared a lot more about the out-of-band. So I think, like, I would support you without an in-band work, but I think we need, like, you to help us figure out what the in-band pain points are and help us figure out what we need to do. Because I think you have better visibility of what's needed there than I do. So anyway, is there some way you could, like, what's your priority there, and do you need to drive something?
I thought we decided, or at least agreed, that we will work on the PCIe best practices and pull back on in-band. Didn't we talk about that?
I don't think we talked about pulling back on in-band. Yes, Yama wanted to work on this first, and if it seems like everyone is excited about this, so let's work on it first. But we also want to make sure, Anil, that no one wants to, ignore or not work on in-band. You still have that mandate, but you decide your priority, which one you want to work on first. You want to go on PCIe first, or you want everyone to work on in-band first? Because I don't think it's very productive, and actually it could be confusing to work on two things at the same time.
Well, or it could be that, Anil, if you want to gather some folks and have a side group that goes off and does some work and comes back to the main group.
Yeah, that would be another way to do that.
Okay, let me do that. I'm going to in the first meeting after the holidays. Who wants to volunteer? Just maybe direct message me or tell me right now. I mean, we're already 5 minutes past the meeting here. But,
but I hope that's clear, Neil. We do not mean to block you with in-band, and I never wanted to do that, and I think I support it. We just need you to do it because you care the most and you know more about the pain points you have. And I'm not going to solve your pain points.
Anil, my personal preference would be to do both are equally important in my opinion. I think my personal preference would be to do both the things in this forum where most people attend, but if that's really priority that you want to jump on and want to have a separate call, maybe we can do alternate weeks, kind of set up 1 week we work on this, 1 week we work on that, and that gives alternate week to work on, to work offline on other stuff. So yeah, that
well, I mean, I guess
you know why I'm saying that, right? I want most people to have part in the discussion, right?
Yeah.
We just need to figure out how to have check-ins and keep things aligned. But I don't know. But, you know, I guess we want you to be enabled to make progress with the things you care about. So, yeah, please help us help you.
Sure. I mean, I think the key thing is the bandwidth, right? When I'm working on this PCIe, and there's going to be overlap, right? Some of the PCIe
Sure.
pain points are going to be part of InBand as well. So let me think about it, and maybe I'll reach out to you, Drew, and anybody else who is willing to contribute. Please send me a message, and let's do some initial thought, brainstorming, and we'll come back on this forum to propose how we get to the end.
And Anil, if I might suggest something, I think something that would be really helpful to get buy-in would be for you to describe where you think the pain points are and, you know, what problem you're trying to solve. And I think that would help us rally people around you because they know the value of the problem we're solving. You know, it'll be oh yeah, I've got that problem too. I will jump in and work with you. So I'm not trying to tell you what to do too much, but if you could help us understand, you know, what the problems are, what the pain point is, I think that would help us win support for what you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put something. Yeah, I'll put something on your calendar after Thanksgiving, and let's do some brainstorming. Okay.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, sorry we ran late. We kept Vilas from his drink, but it's awesome. As I said, I always look forward to this conversation. Thanks, everyone. And we're not meeting next week. Have a happy Thanksgiving and happy break next week for all of you that have the days off.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.